Hey, how are you? I'm a moment late. My apologies. We made it. Hang on just a second. We're trying to get this right. A lot of new stuff going on today. Hopefully, this is showing up. Just one sec, folks. And there it is. All right, let's see here. Hey, gang, it appears that we are live and good to go, so I'm going to get rolling. Nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. I have been off for a while, as you know, going through a move. We needed some more room, and that all went smoothly. I'm quite grateful for that. Hi, everyone. People are starting to show up. Hi, how are you, Julio, Sukamal? Hi, good to see you. Lots of new stuff going on today. This is an evolution, always trying to get better, just like you guys. I'm in a new office, and it is in the process of being set up. It's not quite done, but we're getting there. Hey, John, how are you? Anli, how are you? Atul, all right. Portugal, London, what is going on? Namaste to you, sir. We got a new office here, and I'm going to be doing more work on the lighting and the sound and what have you. We do have some good lighting going on. You might notice this. I've got a new mic. I'm looking into a new webcam. Lots of new stuff going on, which means for better or worse, you can see me clearly. Hi, Stefan. How are you? Dr. Dave, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Robinson, how are you? So good to see all these names. Dr. Dave's in Houston. What's going on? Hey, Paul, how are you? Maryland, Dayton, Ohio. I miss Dayton, Ohio. I do. All right. So made the move, settled in, not yet done. As you can see, I've got a boring space behind me. I've got the tech set up. I'm even hardwired to the internet, which makes me very excited in terms of quality and interruptions. I have yet to finish decorating and work on sound. So this great mic will get even better once I put some sort of sound related materials around here and hopefully get something visually interesting to look at. I could use a digital background, but I just assume put something up. I'm gonna put this up there. This is kind of cool. This is a, boom. That's a license plate to the first Harley that I ever had. It's the name of my next book called Live Hard. Very excited about it. I'll mention that again later. But for today, I'll just say hi. I hope you're well. I know that this saga we're all going through is going slower than we expected. It's lasting longer than we expected. And I just want to acknowledge that. I hear you. I hope you're staying really productive as a means of getting through it. And remembering when you have an ounce of extra energy to go help someone else, because I'll just say this briefly and move on positively. Everybody is going through difficult things that they didn't see coming. Just remember that. It'll help put your stuff in perspective and frankly remind you to go check on others and see how they're doing. So today's topic, I haven't been streaming for a while. Very excited. I chose this topic because I watched some advice givers recently give some advice in ways I did not think was terribly useful. Hey, Canada, we got Conan. How you doing? Marisa, South Africa, great to have you with us. Coaching, listen, the idea of trying to improve others, you know, it's been around for a long time. The history goes like this. We used to bark, hey, do what I tell you. And that was leadership for so many years. For the majority of our professional history, that's what happened. And then we started learning that we should care more, understand more, learn more. And that started to shift. And eventually you saw listening become a skill people talked about and started trying to engage. But then they would just make their own call, their own decision anyway. It still felt like just a boss giving dictation, right? And we continue to evolve. And somewhere in the 60s and 70s, we really started a consultative approach where we wanted to hear and be advised by folks who work for us before we make a decision. That's lovely. And it continued because every step we took on this journey We realized it was beneficial to decision making, beneficial to group esprit de corps, morale, call it what you'd like. And so we continued, and now we've moved into a 20+ year period where we flat out understand the need to collaborate, to treat people like colleagues, no matter where they are in the hierarchy. That's huge. We get lost in believing our spot in the hierarchy is somehow useful when it's really just a spot and we all together have work to do. So stop thinking about where you are in the hierarchy and thinking about what it means to collaborate and coach. So we started realizing that we have to really collaborate. A big part of that's coaching. Coaching has been a popular term forever, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say something mean. We're only just now starting, on average, maybe to get good at it. The truth is, we have a lot of coaches with great intentions. You know this. We also have a lot of coaches that should retire. I hope that doesn't sound too harsh, but it is a communication activity that requires a little thoughtfulness. And so what I thought I would do is briefly tell you my observations on where coaching typically is in the average manager's hands, and then maybe think through very briefly some steps you can personally engage to make coaching more thoughtful, more effective, which is spectacular. Just a place to start thinking about how to do this very important skill a little more effectively. Carolina, hi from Chile. How are you? Nigeria, hi. How are you, sir? Nice to have you. We've got France. We've got Central America. I'm going to sneeze. We've got Robinson from Peru. So great. Omar, how are you? Another one from France. This is great. I'm always blown away by how many folks tune in. And I got to tell you, this is a topic that is universal and it's global. So here it goes. When I first watch someone engage coaching, what do I typically see? Now, you need to pay attention to this, even though I'm pretty basic and I talk pretty fast. I got to tell you, this is a core idea, and we get it wrong more than we get it right. Here's my observation. When I watch someone see what they think might be a performance issue and they want to engage and have a conversation, they very often have one of two kind of standard responses, both of which aren't perfect. The first is to ignore what they see. That's one of the most common responses. The second is to immediately intervene and do something about said perceived performance issue, both of which are dominant common responses when we see a performance issue and we think, hey, should we jump in and do something? Ignore or immediately jump in and try and rectify this situation. I want to tell you as politely as I can, those are not the best responses. And the problem here is we're not being thoughtful. We get busy every day. I respect how busy you are. And as a result, we get lost in knee-jerk reactions, less thoughtful, standard scripted, typical reactions, right? And when we do that, we're not really addressing the specific nature of the unique problem that we might be looking at. Instead, we're giving a standard response to a unique situation, and that almost never is a prescription for something successful. So here's the problem. If you ignore it as a standard response, you got to ask yourself, why do we do this? There's many reasons, first of all, that a lot of people will make ignoring their standard response. They want to say, you know what, no one holds my hand, I'm not holding their hand. They might say, you know what, I didn't need to be motivated. They don't need to be motivated. They might say to themselves, I'm going to do them a favor, let them work it out, because that's how they're going to build skill, and other not completely evil thoughts at all that are not terribly useful, not terribly productive. Just ignoring may or may not have a useful effect. Most of the time, it will be an unproductive effect. Most of the time, to ignore a problem that you see is absolutely a prescription to let the problem grow. And your job is to do the opposite as a leader. So ignoring is not a great standard response. And if you do it, it's just going to get worse. Now, the other one I think is more interesting, but it can be every bit as much or more problematic. And that is to see a problem. Hey, Suzanne was late again. Hey, Jim's report had errors again, or whatever the issue might be. There's a million things. And say to yourself, I'm going to go address that. I'm a leader. I'm paid to do this. Look at me. I'm a coach. Here we go. And then you sit down and you go, guys, I've seen a problem. Let's talk about it. Okay. That comes from a good place. It means you're not running from the conflict. I love that. But the question is, are you being effective? And I have to tell you that when you have an immediate response all the time to go intervene and fix, you're actually causing a problem most of the time. You're actually training your people to expect an intervention from you. Is that what you really want to train them to do? No, of course not. Omar being kind. Thank you, sir. Hey, Adil from Dubai. We've got Mansoor. Hey, how are you? From Iran. Another, Zoe, what's happening? From London. Love this conversation and I love this platform. It's hilarious how diverse this group is. You know what's funny though? The more diverse my following becomes, the more I realize that we're all facing some terribly similar, almost universal challenges when we try to optimize ourselves and when we try to really improve and optimize the team or the larger organization. Coaching is just one example. So really common but not so productive would be ignoring versus just getting involved immediately all the time and intervening, which makes people go like this. Oh, here he comes. Here he comes. He's going to preach the answer. I'm going to stop even thinking about it and just wait for them to go, here's what I think you should do. We don't want to do that any more than we have to. So what is the right answer? All right. I'm going to do what gurus are supposed to do. I'm going to tell you what I think of as a preferred approach. And the difference is subtle. It's actually very simple. The idea is that instead of doing the scripted, knee-jerk, kind of not so thoughtful, immediate response, you're going to choose to breathe for just a moment, to think for just a moment, to be thoughtful in your response. So here's the first question for you, and I have a few if you want to engage coaching effectively. Question one, when you see that performance-related problem, I want you to ask yourself, hey, does this matter? Hey, is this consequential? What does this really add up to? Does it matter? Now, nothing is meaningless at work. I don't want to belittle something you might see if it's an issue between two people or a problem with a work product. I know that everything is imperfect and we see things we might address all the time. But you got to ask yourself if it crosses a threshold of actually needing attention. You are busy. Your time is worth a lot of money. Is this one of the, let's say, minor issues you might spot that you want to invest time in, given the limited time and energy that you have? You have to be a little more brutal than a lot of people are. Don't fall into that trap of going, I see performance issues, I'm going to intervene. No, ask yourself, is this one that matters and thus it's worth my time? A lot of times you're going to say no for different reasons, and that's fine. But if you say yes, then you continue thinking, okay, I've noticed something. Does it matter? Yeah, that's actually a sizable issue. That matters. Great. Next question. Is this an incident or a pattern? Let me say that differently. Is this a one-time event you're witnessing for the first time? Or to your knowledge, it's just a one-time event? Or is this a pattern that you've been made aware of or that you've seen personally, a pattern of behavior? If you want to think about intervening and adding some value in a coaching sense when you've got limited time, you have to think about addressing things that matter. And my first question about does it matter, after you ask yourself that basic question, is, hey, is this a pattern or an incident? Patterns deserve your attention more. Is it true that one particularly large, crazy, who knows what kind of, deviant performance issue you might have spotted, can one be large enough such that you should care and intervene, even though it's not a pattern, it's just an incident? Sure. Most of the time that's rare, and you're looking at, let's call them garden variety performance issues. And when they fall within a normal range like that, meaningful question. Incident, one-time thing, or pattern. So first, does it matter? Next, incident versus pattern. And then, yes, we have a few more. Hey, from Canada, Joanne, what's going on? Omar, you are being kind, sir. Thank you very much. Sanjit, how are you? Ashish, Wilfried, how are you? We've got, man, we have so many people piling onto this from places I can't wait to visit. Maybe half of them at best I've been to. Very excited. There's another one from Mumbai. All right. One, you want coaching to matter. You've got to ask yourself, does this matter? Two, incident or pattern. Three, this one gets a lot of people in trouble, root cause. Now, what I mean by that is it's very easy to look at an incident that you think is going on, a late product, an error-filled product, a personality outburst, who knows what it might be. And you think to yourself, okay, I have to tell you, I know what that is. I see a behavior that makes no sense, and I'm going to go call it out and intervene like a good boss, a good coach, and speak to it. Hold on. You've got to ask yourself what the root cause is. For example, if you're seeing an error in a work product, are you seeing, just to use one mental framework that's been popular over the years, and there are many here, are you seeing an ability problem, Or are you seeing a motivation problem? Where's the root cause? Is it ability? Do they not have the right resources, the right training, the right expertise, the right aptitude? Is that somehow getting us to the root cause, the real base explanation of whatever this ability issue might be? Or maybe it's just motivation. Hey, this person, if I think about it and I'm thoughtful before I intervene, this person actually is very skilled, very educated. I know they have the competence. That is not the problem. Thus, it's got to be motivation. They're having a bad day, a bad week, hopefully not much longer. But why are they? Is it because they don't feel well? Do they have health issues or mental health issues? Do I need to be aware of it? Do I need to speak to them about resources we have available? Is it something they want to confide in me if I just gave them the opportunity or not? And that, of course, is their prerogative, and we're not supposed to pry other than noticing performance issues and offering to help. Maybe you have an employee assistance program and they need to know about it. Well, you'll never find out until you assume you don't know the answer. That's a big one, folks. Coaches that go in, and I've done it, I know we can be guilty of this. Success and expertise often make us guilty of going, I know the answer. One of the greatest tips I can give any coach is to check that. You got to put that ego in check and assume you don't precisely or clearly understand what that root cause is that's causing this issue that you have deemed worth talking about. By the way, as you're listening, I'm grateful to have you guys here today. If you've got questions, post them. Hopefully we're going to see some of your questions, so feel free to ask. I'm watching them spool right here on LinkedIn. I'd love to ask questions, and hopefully at the end, I'll have a little time for that. And if for any reason you've got a question and I don't get to it, I always make this offer. And I'm so happy to say I'm back on weekly streaming now. Hey, just connect with me on LinkedIn. Drop me a message. Sometimes I get a lot of notes. Sometimes it takes a while, but I always get back to you free of charge. Very happy to give you my 10 cents. Maybe it'll get you thinking, get you moving on whatever version of this issue, this challenge that you're facing. So back to coaching, we're thinking, all right, is this thing consequential? Does it matter? Okay, yes. Well, then is it a pattern or an incident? Oh, maybe this is really looking like a pattern. Great. Number 3, root cause. Do I understand? Don't assume that I do. What's really going on here? Number 4, all right, I think I've got the root cause. I know what's going on, or I'm pretty confident. Okay, now, finally, what do I do about this? This is where a lot of people actually get in an interesting position, because they really think that the answer is formulate a response and give it. And hear me carefully, that might be part of a great response. It's not simplistically the only response that you should be giving all the time. It's too simple, predictable, and trains them to just listen. And you want to train them to do a whole lot more. So there's what you think the answer is. And then there's what you think, who you think the right person is to speak to them, and what the right mode of communication is. Follow me. What's the right answer? So you've gotten to the root cause, right? What's the right answer? Who's the right person? Might be a group, might be a person. What's the right mode? First is the answer. We could talk all day about that. It might be a simple bit of advice. It might be a perspective. It might be a new resource. Who knows what it might be? But think through it, be very specific about it and how they can get their hands around it and start using it. Number 2, person. You may or may not be the right person, dear leader. That's going to sound strange to some of you, but I got to tell you, there's real benefits associated with you being in that status position, that hierarchical position above them. They report to you. All those classic notions are true and can have great benefits, and can have great difficulties associated with them. Sometimes they need to hear it right from you, and you are the best source for that feedback. Other times, someone else will be better. Sometimes I just want you to ask the question because there might be a teammate, a colleague, or their mentor who maybe you know. I don't know the specifics. Think through the odds of that person receiving the solution, the advice, the suggestion from a person. Who might that person be? Might be you, might be someone else. Then you have to think about the mode. Sometimes it's a heavy topic, and the mode is a private conversation, whether they're talking to you or someone else. Sometimes it's a more mainstream, candid conversation we can have as a team, even if it's a little tough. We as a team are developing an ability to use candor and to have real conversations. And that group meeting we have every week, next week, that would be a great time for me or for someone else to have that comment to them, to give them that feedback and let them react and maybe even build a group conversation. There's no perfect answer here. You're just trying to say to yourself, does it matter? Is it a pattern or an incident, right? Do I know the root cause? What's the solution? Who's the right person? When's the right time, place? What's the mode that you might use to communicate with them? If you do all of those things, your odds of having them hear a message that is relevant and useful to them, man, it goes through the roof. And that means it's not a waste of your time. It's not a waste of their time. I love it. Hey, Mehdi, how are you? You're very welcome. Dr. Dave, you sure are correct. You can't go in knowing the answer. My friend Sally from Houston, how are you? Assuming you don't know the answer is smart in many situations. It's so tough, but it's actually beautiful advice. You stand to learn so much more. And I love saying this. You think you're a coach? You've been a mentor. Good for you. I have too for many years. And I hope that never stops. But guess what? They are not tools for dispensing wisdom. That is a small part of it. It is part of it, but it's a small part of it. It is a tool for your continued growth through service. You ever heard that said about coaching and mentoring? I don't know, but you need to hear it. It's a tool for your continued growth through service. That's what it is. Because if you'll go ahead and check yourself, assume you don't know the answer, look for that pattern, dig for that root cause, think about the solution and the delivery in a way that maximizes their ability to accept it from you, that will teach you every bit as much as it will teach them, because it forces you to think clearly. It forces you to look at the unique nature of a situation and come up with a unique solution that might address that situation. That means you're growing as much as the person that you're helping. That makes me very, very happy. All right. Joanne says, great advice. How do we deal with ego in the employee, the need for them to put it aside and hear feedback constructively? Great question. Joanne, let me start by saying I have an ego. I hope you don't see my ego showing right now. We all have it, right? The question is, can we talk about it, laugh about it, and because of that comfort we gain, put it in check more so that we can listen to others more effectively? It's never going away. Ego's useful. It just can't be running wild. That's all. So how do you help an employee keep it in check and allow it to be healthy instead of a problem? And there's two basic answers there. Number one starts with you, Joanne, as a leader, not them. All great leadership ideas really do start with you, the leader, not them. And that is to model the way. If they see you, sometimes work hard to check your ego, question yourself, accept feedback. I mean, you're going to do a lot of showing competence, a lot of showing confidence, other things that we expect out of a leader. I know that. That's beautiful. That's part of the game. In addition, the well-rounded, long-term effective leader will be showing vulnerability and authenticity and other human characteristics, not just perfectly trying to act like they always have the answer. And when you inject a little reasonable, measured, honest humanity of the type I've just described into your conversation, that tells other people how to communicate as well. It tells them what you value and maybe what they should be trying to reciprocate in terms of being a little more authentic and raw and real in communicating with you. So number one, you're modeling the way. Number two, if you have a real problem with an employee and an ego, they need to understand it. Now, I have to tell you this, as always, I wonder if I have enough time, but I'm always running out of time. Most people who have aberrant behavior at work are meaningfully unaware that they're being aberrant or deviant or a problem. Now, to some of you that sounds weird, take my word for it, okay? Most jerks at work, garden variety problem people, are unaware of their status. They're just doing what they do, and no one's been brave enough to give them the feedback they need to build some self-awareness and become aware that, in your case, Joanne, for your question, that ego is becoming a problem. So I want you to think about crafting the private, the objective, the respectful conversation that you can have with them to help them understand that reality. In fact, when you begin that, you should probably begin the way I neglected to mention a minute ago. You don't start a coaching session after you figured out it's time to have that intervention. You don't start by going, there's a problem and I have an answer for you. Making an observation they can react to, or asking a question they can react to, that's the first part of the actual intervention. Because if you show up and go, hey, there's an issue, let me tell you what I believe, and here's the solution, they're just gonna learn that you're there to dispense advice. They're gonna disengage learning and just listen to what you're saying so they can comply with you. You're not trying to give them an opportunity to comply. Coaching is about helping them build new skills, more insight about who they are, and thus grow as a result. That's what coaching is about. Giving people pushes towards answers that help them right now, that's a part of it, but just a part of it, a means to an end. When you take that bigger view of coaching into that situation and you follow those steps that I just tried to describe for you, you're very likely to connect with someone in a way that they find useful in the moment. And that, of course, is what coaching is all about. And as I wrap up here, let me tell you, it's great to be back. I love doing this. I'm so glad that I've got all my trials and tribulations for moving out of the way, and I'm set up. And hopefully in the next few weeks, every week I'll be doing this, and you'll see an office that becomes even more attractive. I'll put some things on the wall. As I mentioned, this guy should be visible. I'm so excited. In the next few weeks or a couple months, I'm not sure yet, you're going to see the new book. It's called Live Hard. I'm very excited. And I'll give you the same comment and invitation that I always give. If we're not yet connected on LinkedIn, please reach out. We should be connected. I'd like to hear from you, and I'd like you to follow what I'm up to. In fact, there's a newsletter. If you go to drdoit.com, my main home on the internet, there's a newsletter you can sign up for. It's free. It's fun. At least once a month in your inbox. Witty, funny advice from yours truly. Also, important updates often before anyone else gets a hold of them about upcoming books and talks and courses and things I want you to know about. All free, fun, educational. Please sign up for that. Now, last comment. If you really did have a question, and I saw a few pop up and I only got to maybe two, definitely reach out. Let's connect on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear your question and take just a minute to try and give you something thoughtful you can react to. In the meantime, I'm going to be doing this every week, as I had established for quite a while now that I'm back. If you have a topic that's just killing you, that you think I really should address and you would enjoy listening to, hey, send me a note. I want to hear about it. In the meantime, be good to yourself. Take care of those around you. Don't forget where I started today. Everyone is going through more interesting and difficult things than you're really aware of right now. So do yourself a favor and be in a good place to the full extent of your ability. Try and be in a good place. Glass half full. You got to work on it. You got to choose it. You got to try and see it right up here. And when you get it, go share it with someone else. That would be maybe the most valuable thing that you can do today. Great to see you. See you next time. Bye.